Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Future AI Show, proudly presented by Dynam.ai. My name is Matt Brown, one of the co-hosts of the show, and with me on the line is another co-host, and his name is Craig Parfit. He is the COO and CTO. He wears two hats at Dynam. Craig, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt.
Craig, why don't you give our viewers around the world just a little bit about your background and give us the elevator pitch about Dynam and what you're up to there?
Sure. My background is steeped in engineering. I spent a lot of my career in consulting, but also flipping between working for companies. I've been involved with various startups. One theme that's gone throughout my career, though, it was early on when I went back to do my research, was AI. I went back to do biomedical engineering. It required some advanced techniques that led me to, because I was researching in a neuroscience lab, and it led me to learn a lot about AI. Now, it's roughly 25 years ago. Fast forward, we're at a different place with AI nowadays. It is becoming more commonplace, especially for businesses. A lot of the people that are using AI, actually implementers, the engineers, the data scientists, the computer scientists, they are using very advanced techniques. One thing that we've learned is that not everybody is able to apply the variability in the techniques to complex problems. Dynam's here to solve those complex problems for you. We have an accelerator and a platform which we use as an in-house tool. It allows us to essentially get to our solutions faster for our clients. But we are an end-to-end provider, all the way from sensors and devices, cameras, things like that, actually helping our clients install that and select that hardware. We use various techniques to collect it, either anyway from fixed mount through to UGVs, UAVs, such as drones, etc., robots, whatever it may be, if you need to have those devices moving. And we essentially process that data all the way through, pre-processing images, computer vision, etc. We get some analysis and results from that. That helps us drive insights to the business, and ultimately that helps us help those businesses make decisions, and they're critical decisions, ones that save them tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars.
So what everyone's talking about ChatGPT-3 at the moment, and then there's going to be, number 4 and 5, and obviously they're just one company, and Dynam being another, and there are many other companies as well. What would you say what should decision makers who are looking at this evolving conversation about artificial intelligence and applying it inside their businesses, what should we look out for in terms of trends that are shaping the implementation of artificial intelligence? Because I think a lot of people from the outside were like, oh, AI is coming in the future. Now suddenly it's here. A true, like a non-sucky artificial general intelligence is here. And so this is a space that's going to be maturing. So what should decision makers look out for in terms of trends around artificial intelligence?
Let's use ChatGPT as the example. You're essentially focused on natural language generation, right? Natural language understanding. There's a few things coming together there. And really our understanding of conversation has been evolving for the last 20 plus years. Now, if you take ChatGPT as the example of having a significant milestone in that journey, I wouldn't say we're there yet with regards to natural language understanding and generation, etc. But we definitely are at a significant milestone. In parallel to that has always been, if you think it from a senses perspective, right? A lot of people take AI and they map it out to the human, and the human would definitely be reliant upon senses. So for me, the next sense is vision, and computer vision is that next piece. It kind of comes hand in hand with another technology in a sense, which is just robotics in general, right? So you have really the next major step will be computer vision, and having the equivalent of ChatGPT attached to that. However, for me, it's more relevant. If you look at companies like Boston Dynamics, they're an excellent company to follow, right? They are my favorite. They've gone through such a great history over the last 25, 30 years. They are now at a stage where essentially we can start leveraging that physical form of a humanoid mechanism, and we can start using that in what I would say areas like inspection, an application of computer vision. Dynam are experts in computer vision. A lot of what we do is computer vision. I would say it's one of the more complex areas of signal processing and data capture and then processing. And I think the next step is really taking that computer vision, applying it to those physical forms of robots, and using them in the workplace, using them in industrial environments. And there's just some amazing things they're doing. I would say we're at a stage where in companies like Boston Dynamics have actually cracked the nut or solve the issue with actually realizing a physical form. Where Dynam comes in, is that computer vision and excelling at actually using that information, that sense, and using in commercial and industrial applications.
Craig, how have you guys used computer vision, for example, and context augmented AI in the real world? Can you point to an example, and could you really help our audience understand what you mean when you say computer vision? Because it's like, okay, so computers can see, but then there's a disconnect in terms of like, well, how does this actually play out in the real world?
Yeah, playing and maybe that's a good connection with between computer vision and a robot. The robot is like a physical form. It's essentially a mount for that camera, right? So we are mounts for our eyeballs, we're mounts for our ears and our mouths, right? And in one aspect. So that is where you have the camera and sensors mounted, is on that robot. Currently, we practically in the real world work with some drone vendors. Specifically, we have a very significant partnership with American Robotics and Aerobotics. And we use the drones as a mechanism for capturing images, specifically for inspection. And really, what we're doing, you asked about, taking context into account. Context is, you might grab an image and the background of that image may be dark or it may be light, just like anybody taking a photograph. Do you have a flash on? Do you not have a flash on? And what are the effects with shadows, etc.? All of those effects due to lighting and different conditions of your environment actually affect your understanding of what's inside that image. And so one of the areas where we take context and we apply our knowledge of that environment is we're removing those effects, so that as we process those images for the business purpose, which might be inspection or finding a specific object, anomaly detection, something along those lines, it allows us to use that context to remove those effects and clearly understand what's in that image without any bias.
Craig, is there anything about artificial intelligence that keeps you up at night, or that you feel, based on your engagements with decision makers who are looking to apply artificial intelligence, computer vision, context augmented AI in manufacturing or agriculture or healthcare, or whatever the relevant industry is? What do you feel from your experience being at the coalface of this implementation of the technology? Do you feel like most decision makers are kind of wrestling with?
I'm not sure if most decision makers are wrestling with it, but a lot of the executives that myself or our company would face off with, I think they're still a bit heated, a bit stuck. And essentially what I mean by that is, I've been working with cloud vendors for the last 5+ years, and the cloud vendors have really I really have to give them credit for democratizing AI, really putting it in the hands of everybody, right? They gave everybody the compute, they gave everybody supporting services, they've given them AutoML, allowing you to automatically retrain models. And so they've really kind of pushed forward with enabling the average developer the ability to implement AI in a real world situation. And the connectivity is something that comes into play. One of our strengths is that we work at the edge. So sometimes we have these hybrid architectures, and it allows us to gather information from anywhere. And there's times when you have to leverage compute in the cloud or storage in the cloud. And so we get it to there and we use it, but we also implement and execute at the edge. The thing that keeps me up at night is that we need to be moving. We need to somehow get over those stumbling blocks that the executives that I face off with. The stumbling blocks are not so much the adoption. I think they understand, they've got the proof that it can actually bring them value. We essentially, demonstrate that to them. But where I want us to get to is really the operations, right? So there's a lot of terminology out there, but for me, it's model operations. Once you build a model, you've actually got this insight, this amazing ability to affect decisions in your business processes, to save you tens of millions of dollars or make you hundreds of millions of dollars. How do you get that into a place where it's operating in your everyday processes and it's continuously updating itself? So it's no longer a back office activity where you're waiting for some, smart person in the back noodling around to update that model. They actually can update themselves mostly, right? You're not changing the structure of those, say, DNNs, but you are actually updating them as there's a data drift. So the data distributions change. And when you look at your business data, it's slightly different. Models should have shelf lives. They are not things that once you build them, they're all seeing, all knowing, right? That is something that some of the large vendors go for. They want to, ingest all of the world's data and have this all knowing, all seeing, robust model. It doesn't work. It's not practical. Most people that are implementing models, they live in the real world where we build models, we put them into place, we put them in an operations environment, and as their performance degrades, that allows them to automatically, without engagement from a person, to actually retrain on the new data and adjust, right? They adjust their parameters and they adapt to their new situations. So you can call it adaptive AI, but it's really, that's what keeps me up at night, is hopefully we're able to convey that to our clients, that's where they need to be. It is real. That is possible. We've built these solutions and we can actually implement them for you, so that your costs of even running the AI platform are minimal. Once we build it, once we put it in place, it will be giving you and driving you benefit in perpetuity. So,
And that's an amazing vision, isn't it? It's not just a case of like, well, it's a pilot that you're running, and then although you might run a pilot, it's not just a case of, well, it's a 3-month pilot and then we'll see you later. It's actually, this is almost like technology-driven intellectual property that's going to continue to add value to the manufacturing business, the healthcare business, whatever the business is, in perpetuity, as you say, for the foreseeable future. That's an exciting vision.
No, exactly. And I remember it was a long time ago, I was involved in designing the rec engine for BSkyB, so broadcasting company. Those were early days. I think the only people that had recommendations engine back then was Amazon. So we were very pioneering in that sense. I got permission from some folks to step aside from my role and take 2 days out with somebody, and we designed that and had some vendors come in and implement it. One of the things at the time, and I remember Rupert Murdoch had made an announcement at the time that we needed to be aware. We're working for his company, obviously, but we needed to be aware of the competitors. And the competitors weren't the normal landscape. They were the Microsofts. They were the other companies coming into play. And really what I explained to people, I said, it's not the fact that you know how to build. Nowadays, we might be a DNN transformer, right? Back then it was, a random forest network you were using. That's not the IP. The IP is generated by your data. So when we come in, it's your data that generates the actual physical operating model with all of its weights and parameters. And that's what you own. That is your IP. It's generated from your data. And as your data changes, that IP changes and it adjusts, right? It's adaptive. Back in those days, the comment that I had some great conversations internally, and I was really advising them from a strategic perspective and also an implementation, was really saying, look, if you give this data to a third-party vendor and they manage it, you're giving your IP away. So our intent is really to put into place those building blocks, that framework for you as a company to implement automation and intelligence at its best, right? Leveraging automation at its best from a software development technology stack perspective, as well as AI techniques. And once you've implemented those, that IP is protected because you now are running that in an operational environment in your business processes. It's your data and you own everything. And there's no chance that an outside, a competitor or a third party is going to glean insight from that and pass it on to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Craig, this is obviously an evolving conversation. It's an evolving industry too. How do you see the market for context augmented AI evolving in, say, the next 5 to 10 years, if you're able to stop and future pace that far ahead, given how fast this industry is evolving? And what role do you see Dynam.ai playing in shaping this future?
I think Dynam has the opportunity to be a leader, right? Somebody out in the forefront, demonstrating how do we bring context into our analysis of environments. For me, it's, in general, from an engineering perspective, anytime you're solving a problem, you're looking at an entire system. You're trying to understand all the things that govern that system, right? All of the equations, you might say, that to really control the boundaries and and associated aspects of that system. Context allows you to remove the biases that can be entered in there. Like I used the example of shadows and things being captured in an image, but the context awareness allows you to always focus on the problem you're trying to solve and remove those influences in a way that it does not ruin your data or bias your data or change the outputs from your model. So really what we're looking at doing is, as we move forward, as I mentioned, the model operations, it's a continuously adaptive piece of your business processes. The context will always allow you to ensure that you are taking into account the things that affect your system. And I'm describing things as a system, but ultimately it's your business process, your business environment, right? So that Dynam can come into a manufacturer, in a production line, and ensure that that's always not just adapting from data change, but it's also taking into account the things that affect your data. So
amazing stuff. Well, Craig, it's in a very exciting time, I think, for everybody in the business community. It's more exciting, I would say, that you guys are leading the way and really leading the conversation and really helping decision makers understand, well, what are the real possibilities? How can you really solve for the impossible? I find that exciting. Craig, thank you so much for being on the show.
thank you. Thank you very much, Matt. Thank you.
Ciao.